There's a medical college somewhere in the Midwest. I can't tell you the name of the college, and I can't tell you the name of the town either. The person who lived this asked me to keep both hidden, out of respect for the place, and honestly, I don't blame him. This is the story of Ryan, a medical intern whose job, for a few months, was to work in the morgue. Hey, welcome back, everyone. Today's story comes from a man I'll call Ryan, not his real name, but close enough. He shared this with me in detail, and I'm going to walk you through exactly what he told me. This all happened back in 2005. Ryan was doing his internship at a medical college. Like I said, I can't say where, and part of that internship meant spending long stretches of time in the morgue, assisting with autopsies. Before I get into what happened, let me tell you a little about Ryan. He was a science guy through and through. Rationally, he didn't believe in ghosts, spirits, any of that. But like a lot of people, there was a part of him, something left over from childhood, that still got a chill from scary stories and horror movies. He wanted to believe it was all nonsense. His job basically required him to believe that. But somewhere in the back of his mind, the fear never fully left. That fear was about to get tested in a way he never expected. It was August 2005. Ryan was still fairly new to the internship, and the morgue, like most morgues, was in the basement of the hospital. Cold, dim, the kind of place that messes with your head even when nothing strange is happening. Over the weeks, though, he'd started to get used to it. He'd helped with enough autopsies by then that the fear had mostly faded into routine. Mostly. There'd been a few moments along the way that felt off, little things he chalked up to nerves, to a tired mind playing tricks. He didn't let himself dwell on them, because if he did, he wasn't sure he'd be able to make himself walk back into that morgue the next day. Then came August 14th. Ryan remembers the exact date. That day, a body was brought in, a young woman, 22 or 23 years old. Her body was clean, almost untouched, except for one mark, a bruise around her neck. When Ryan asked what happened, his supervising doctor told him it was simple, an accident, a railway track case. Write it up as accidental. Close the file. Ryan didn't buy it. Nothing about the body looked like an accident to him. No scrapes, no broken bones, nothing consistent with a fall or a collision, just that one dark bruise on her neck. But he was an intern. He did what he was told. He wrote accidental death in the report, and the case was closed. Even so, the internal examination still had to be done. Ryan was alone in the morgue with her body, more comfortable being by himself down there than he'd expected to be at that point in his training. He was focused on the exam. That's when he felt it, in the corner of his eye, just at the edge of his vision. It looked like her eyes were open. Normally, a body's eyelids are closed before autopsy. Hers had been too. But in his peripheral vision, he was almost certain he saw them open. When he turned to look directly at her, they were closed, just like they should be. It rattled him. He told himself it was nothing, a trick of tired eyes, bad lighting, an overactive imagination. But along with that unsettling flash, he felt something else, a presence in the room with him. Something watching. It's the kind of feeling that, once it gets into your head, doesn't leave easily, especially in a place like that, cold, quiet, alone with the dead. He filed his final report and went back to his dorm. Ryan had a roommate, though their schedules barely overlapped. His roommate worked nights, Ryan worked days, so they mostly just passed each other coming and going. That night, lying in bed, Ryan couldn't stop thinking about the body. About the bruise that didn't match an accident. About why his supervisors had been so insistent on closing the case quickly. It kept looping in his mind, and sleep wouldn't come. Then something happened that he still can't fully explain. He felt someone standing right beside his bed, near his pillow, on his right side. And this wasn't some vague, sleepy sensation, it felt completely real. He was fully awake. Not sleep paralysis, he could move, he could feel things clearly, and if he'd wanted to, he could have gotten up. But he didn't. He was frozen with fear, lying there, sensing someone standing right next to him without being able to see who, or what, it was. He stayed still for a while, trying not to move, almost like some part of him thought that if he didn't react, whatever it was wouldn't notice him either. But the feeling didn't go away. If anything, it got more intense, more real, more suffocating. Along with the presence, there was a smell. A metallic smell, the same kind of smell that clings to the air during an autopsy, the smell of the morgue itself. And it was right there in his room. Eventually, the fear won out. Ryan sat up, flipped on the lights, and instantly, the presence vanished. The smell disappeared with it. He told himself it had to be his imagination. He'd been overthinking the case all day. Of course his mind was playing tricks on him at night. He left the light on and eventually managed to fall asleep. He didn't mention any of it to his roommate, didn't want to be laughed at, or to sound paranoid. The next day went normally. The young woman's body was still in the morgue, and something in Ryan kept pulling him back toward the case, a nagging need to understand what had really happened to her, why the story didn't add up, why he couldn't stop thinking about it. But work kept him busy, and before he knew it, the day was over. That night, back in his room, he tried to sleep again. Around 2:30 a.m., he heard something outside his door, footsteps in the hallway. Bare feet, slapping hard against the floor, again and again. At first he ignored it. Figured it was a night janitor, someone cleaning up. But the sound didn't fade, it got louder. Closer. Ryan, exhausted and increasingly irritated, sat up in bed, listening as the footsteps stopped directly outside his door. Then came scratching. Something raking against the outside of his door, over and over. That was the last straw. Fear and frustration both boiling over, Ryan got up, turned on the light, and threw the door open. Nothing there. Just a few small splinters of wood on the floor. When he looked closer at the door, there were scratch marks near the bottom, real ones, with the wood chipped away right where the marks were. He had no explanation. If it had been an animal, he would have seen it. There was nothing. He left the door open, left the lights on, and eventually fell back asleep. The next morning, he told a couple of the senior doctors what had happened, the scratches, the wood on the floor. They brushed it off, told him stray cats or dogs probably wandered the hospital grounds at night. Ryan wanted to believe that. It was easier. But something nagged at him. The presence beside his bed. The footsteps. The scratching. All of it happened around 2:30 a.m. What did that mean? He didn't know, and he tried to let it go, chalking the whole thing up to coincidence and exhaustion. That night, back in his room again, it happened a third time. Around 2 o'clock to 2:30 a.m., the same presence returned, someone standing on his right side. His eyes had been closed, but something woke him. He couldn't say what. Then he felt it, his mattress dip, like someone had sat down on the edge of the bed. His door was locked from the inside. He'd checked the bathroom before bed. There was no one else in the room. He didn't turn to look. He couldn't. But right by his ear, he felt breath, and then a voice. A young woman's voice, close enough that it sent chills through his entire body. Clear as anything he'd ever heard. "Tell the truth," it said. Ryan lay there, stunned, his mind racing. Tell the truth about what? About whom? And then it hit him, the case. The girl. The autopsy he'd written up as an accident because he'd been told to. He didn't sleep the rest of that night. He kept the lights on and just sat there until morning. The next day, Ryan went looking for answers. The police had already taken the body away, but there was a hospital security guard who knew the girl's family. Ryan found him and asked, carefully, gently, what he knew. The guard could tell something was wrong with Ryan. Something had shaken him. So he told him the truth. The official story was a lie. The doctors had been pressured, by the family, by their connections, to write the death up as an accident, because everyone involved was connected to everyone else. In reality, the girl had been unmarried and had become pregnant. At first, police suspected suicide. But once they spoke to the family, things became clearer. It was the family. They were the ones responsible. But their influence in the community was strong enough that no one dared speak up, and the case was quietly closed, just like Ryan had been told to close it. Ryan finally understood everything, why it had happened, and why she had come to him. He was, as far as he knew, the last person to see her eyes open, even if only for a flash. Maybe that's why she'd chosen him. Maybe she wanted someone, anyone, to know what really happened, and to say it out loud. Ryan knew he couldn't undo the official report. He wasn't in a position to change what had already been written, or to challenge people far more powerful than he was. So he did the only thing he could. He went to the small chapel on the hospital grounds, lit a candle, and spoke quietly, telling her that he couldn't write the truth, but that he knew it, and that he was sorry. He asked that her spirit find peace, and that she forgive him. After that night, nothing else happened to him. But out of curiosity, he went back to the morgue's records and checked the time of death listed for her. Between 2:10 and 2:30 a.m. The exact window when she kept appearing to him, night after night. Ryan told me he still carries a lot of regret over not being able to do more for her, but at the time, he was young, powerless, and completely under the authority of people who could have ended his career with a word. He also told me something else the guard had shared with him, that karma, eventually, comes around. The doctors who pressured him to falsify the report went on to have deeply troubled lives afterward. Things happened to them that were hard to explain. And the girl's family didn't escape it either. Several people connected to the cover-up died under strange, untimely circumstances in the years that followed. Maybe that's just how it goes. What you put out into the world eventually finds its way back to you. Ryan wishes he could have done more for her. But he never forgot her, and now, neither will you.